Okay. All right, make sure we are streaming. We are streaming. We are live. That is amazing. We are alive and live. Let's see where. All righty, so we'll sing a song first. Hey, give me a second. I gotta put some tape on my fingers. Okay, 1 second. The air is dry here, so the fingers are starting to crack. So, gotta be merciful. When you have a material body, you gotta be merciful. All right, here we go. Oops, this finger needs it too. Trina Beccatina Sakalat Sahane Molatia Koro Nichamana Ispreahina Sakalai Saman Konrite Shakati Leonata Jatayata Kaviyago Bibo Akina Masuke Aparana Oileanta. Sorry about that. Kabehena Kripa Yai Jana Kritarta Oilenata Sakti Gode Hen Atiden Umumere at Pasada Yoyatavichare Shuna Iboy Yomarakaruna Sara Koranana Goile Kandia Kandia Ranana Nudia Koruena Sedrina Pekarati Ina Sakana Sahane Konotia Koro Shivane Beaina Krishna Krishnaya Bhutanai Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samediti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Charane Nivasation Sundavani Vasyajati Satarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Sivasadi Gaurvata Vrindanaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Yadwaita Gada Sivasadi Gorvatarinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada 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 Haribo Jago, Haribo, Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paracharya, also the Tadas, it's a Shimad, is divine grace. Abhaya Chananara, Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Lila Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Garadha, Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sam Kunda, Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturanam Ki Jai, Jagannath Sami Kajai Yamunamai Kajai Shrimati Lasi Devi Kajai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Kajai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Sunyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarani. So Magana Timirandasha Garanjana Shlakya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my dear spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we're going to go ahead with our reading of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. This is actually the high point of my day, where I get a chance to connect with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and for a very focused 45 minutes or an hour connecting with Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada's presence is manifest in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So don't forget that. Okay, let's go. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Alright, I have to adjust this a little bit. Give me a second. Okay. That's good. See, boom. Okay, so we're continuing with our study of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're reading the 22nd chapter of the Madhya Lila, and this chapter also details the studies about the process of devotional service, which are being taught, or were being taught, to Sanatana Goswami by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. So let's continue. With that happy note, we will continue. We're continuing with text 88. That's right, 88 to 90. 3 texts in one. Ooh. Sacham Socham Diyamonam Buddhir Ri Shrir Yashakshama Samaltama Vagascheti Yatsangad Yati Sangshayam Teshvashanteshu Mudeshu Akanditatmashvashadushu Sangam Na Kuryach Jeshu Yoshit Krida Mrigeshu Cha Natatasha Bhavan Moho Vandaschanya Prasangataha Yoshit Sangatata Yata Pumso Yata Tatsangi Sangataha. Alright. By association with worldly people, one becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness. Wow, you lose all those things. Control the mind, control the senses, fortune, and all opportunities. One should not at any time associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of knowledge of self-realization, who is no more than a toy animal in the hands of a woman. So that refers to a toy animal in the hands of a man. In other words, you're controlled by someone else. This is actually a really important point. Let me finish this verse. The illusion of bondage that accrued to a man from attaching to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from associating with a woman or with men too much attached to women. So this applies in the opposite direction, that people who are attached for sense gratification. Let me just really unpack this thing a little bit, and then I'll get into a broader topic. Like if we're attached to anyone to enjoy them, whether it's a woman attached to a man attached to a man attached to a man attached to a woman. I think I've covered all the permutations, or maybe I haven't. But anyway, for enjoying your senses, utilizing the other person as an object to enjoy your senses with. Just like I may use my car as an object to enjoy my senses. So that's all right. No, it's not all right. It's not all right. I shouldn't be using it to enjoy my senses. I should be using it to serve Krishna. So whenever we see an object or a person as something that's utilized to give us sense gratification, that actually causes us to fall down from the spiritual life. So we should use everything in Krishna's service. So someone is nicely married and their wife is engaged in Krishna consciousness, husband is engaged in Krishna consciousness, or a husband at least is supportive of them engaged in Krishna consciousness, or the wife is at least supportive of them engaged in Krishna consciousness. That's fine. The main point is we don't exploit people. We don't see people as objects of our sense gratification. Because when we do that, we become controlled by the senses. Now you may say, I don't mind being controlled by the senses. Well, you are a slave. Slavery was outlawed in the United States many, many years ago. But we have become slave to our tongue, belly, genitals, mind, anger, and words. And that's not a very happy situation when you're a slave. And nowadays, I've been doing a little research on this, nowadays people are slaves to their mobile phones and computers. They become slaves. They're dancing dogs. What do I mean by that? Like if you go on your mobile phone, go on Facebook, with an enjoying spirit, of course, or YouTube with an enjoying spirit, or you Google with an enjoying spirit, then your life is controlled by computers who have algorithms. Algorithms means that they are programmed to try to understand what you like and keep you on the computer as long as possible, because they want to feed you, not want because they're not persons, but they're programmed to feed you with a maximum quantity of advertisements to get you to buy, to get you to purchase. And in order to get you to buy, in order to get you to purchase, if they have to feed you with hate, if they have to feed you with lust, if they have to feed you with greed, they will do it. Because these algorithms, they basically gain an understanding. Of course, they're not persons, but they've been programmed by persons. But they actually are very flexible. It's artificial intelligence. So they're very flexible. They gain an understanding of what you like. Now, not an understanding the same way a human being gets an understanding, but they understand that you like certain categories of things. So they feed you a steady diet of those things. If you're into conspiracy theories, you'll get a steady diet and you get all the news about conspiracy theories. You'll begin to think that the earth is flat, which is kind of stupid. You'll begin to think that the earth is flat. You'll begin to think so many crazy things, conspiracy theories, that have no basis in reality. But you will become detached from reality. So that's what happens when you're attached and controlled by someone or something else. You become detached from reality. detached from your real self-interest. What is your real self-interest? Natevidhu Swarthakatumi Vishnu. Your real self-interest is Vishnu, Krishna. That's your self-interest, because that'll make you happy. And these other things that the internet feeds you, or the algorithms feed you, or someone else feeds you in the name of whatever, being concerned for you, then that will not make you happy. So you should know what your own diet, so you can feed yourself or determine what you're going to digest. So anyway, so a little bit of information there about technology. Sorry about that. But it was actually very appropriate. So when you find these different statements, one has to be careful not to apply them without understanding, thinking that this is a chauvinistic statement or something against men or something against women or something against whatever. What we're against is the spirit of exploitation of someone else, seeing someone else's body or mind or possessions or money as an object for us, to utilize for our own sense gratification, and then we depersonalize our relationship with people. Relationships should simply be based upon love for the other person, concern for the other person. That's right. Not what the other person can do for me. Usually the other person is a back scratcher or as a laundry machine. I can get a laundry machine, it's cheaper. So these verses quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 3, 31, 33, 35 were spoken by Kapila Deva, actually it's Lord Kapila Deva, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to his mother, Devahuti. Herein Kapila Deva discusses pious and impious activities and the symptoms of those who are devoid of devotional service to Krishna. Generally, people do not know about the miserable conditions within the womb of the mother in any species of life. Due to bad association, one gradually falls into lower species. Associating with women is greatly stressed in this regard. In other words, using women for one's own sense gratification. When one becomes attached to women or to those who are attached to women, one falls down to the lower species. Attached to women or attached to men, or attached to men. Nowadays, of course, you have homosexuality. And then because of it, you're attached because of the sense gratification it gives you. That is what is the problem. Not the person themselves. It's not the man's fault. It's not the woman's fault. The fault is that we want to use them. We become very attracted to using someone, exploiting someone. Just like I see, I do a lot of preaching at the universities, and I see that people go through different strings of boyfriends or strings of girlfriends, and they're just exploiting each other to gratify their senses. This is extremely degraded. They're not thinking what's good for the other. Let me make a commitment to the other person. We're interested in commitments. So when a man makes a commitment to a woman, woman makes a commitment to a man in a marriage situation, that's wonderful. And they're supportive. That's wonderful. And they should be attached to each other for Krishna consciousness. Not because of what the other person does to satisfy your senses. And of course, the sexual relationship is the most intense sense gratificatory relationship in this world. So it is the most exploitative relationship. It is, unless one approaches it in the proper mood. So Krishna himself says that he represents sex life according to religious principles, and there's a purpose for that. But when we use someone just to titillate our senses, it's so disgusting. So disgusting. Because it's just so impersonal. It's slavery. It's slavery. It's not using someone as a person. It's using someone as an it, or interacting with someone as an it. I mean, I can interact with my computer, but if I treat another person like my computer, then that is bad. Okay. Purusha prakriti stohi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karnam gunasangasya sarasa joni jonashu. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. According to the Vedic system, or Vedic civilization, one's association with women or man's association with man or woman's association with women should be very much restricted. In spiritual life, there are 4 ashramas. Ashram comes from the word ashraya, which means shelter. Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. The Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas are completely forbidden to associate with women. That's intimately. We're talking about the sex life. Okay? Only Grahasthas are allowed to associate with women under certain very much restricted conditions. That is, one associates with women to propagate nice children. Other reasons for association are condemned. Association doesn't mean you talk to them or you like that. Prabhupada is referring in an indirect way to the gross relationship. Varam huta vaha dwala panjarantar vivasatihi nishauri chinta vimukta jana sangbasa vaishasam. It is better to accept the miseries of being encaged within bars and surrounded by burning flames than to associate with those bereft of Krishna consciousness. Such association is a very great hardship. This is a quotation from the Caitanya Samhita. Now, don't take this in a fanatic way. We can be with people who are not Krishna conscious, but we give them Krishna consciousness. We give them association, and we don't have to associate with their lower modes of nature. It's not that we reject society. Then you become like one of these fanatic newbie brahmacharis who thinks, that his family is Maya. That was just crazy. It's crazy. You give people association, and you don't absorb the bad association. So a devotee can be in society, a devotee can hold normal jobs, a devotee can be married, a devotee can practically do anything in society, except for being a butcher, anything in society, and he gives association. You understand? So he has to be careful not to take association, but to give association, that's all. And if you have any questions as far as the specifics, ask some advanced devotee how to manage that, to navigate that. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of intelligence. Madrakshi kshina punyam kvachidapi bhagavad bhakti hinam manushan. One should not even see those who are bereft of devotional service and Krishna consciousness, who are therefore devoid of pious activities. That's a little fanatic, and that's really... Someone's calling me. Wait a second, let me just knock him out. Knocked out. Wait a second. That's good. Okay. So let me go back before they started calling. Obviously, we just, sometimes some of these injunctions are actually for those who are performing like Babajis in the mountains. So for those of us who are preaching, there's different injunctions. For those who are interacting, for those who are actually mixing in the practical world, it's not that you just can't see anybody. My God, it would make us a bunch of really crazy people. We should Communicate with people, give them Krishna consciousness, be compassionate, but be like a lotus leaf. What is a lotus leaf? A lotus leaf has a waxy covering, so even though it's in the water, it's not absorbing any water. That example is utilized in the Vedic literatures. So please take all these things in a balanced way, all these injunctions in a balanced way. If you have any questions, ask an advanced devotee. Etash Saba Charyara Varnasrama Dharma Akinchana Laya Krishnaika Sharana. Without hesitation, one should take exclusive shelter of Lord Krishna with full confidence, giving up bad association, even neglecting the regulated principles of the four varnas and four ashrams. That is to say, one should abandon all material attachment. That is a very high stage. So that's for someone, way, way up there. Don't abandon, neglect the regulated principles of the four varnas and four ashrams. Arjuna was not advised to do that. But this is something that's on a very high level of devotional service, which is pointed out by Krishna here when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes from the Bhagavad Gita, this famous verse that I'm sure everybody knows. Sarvadharmam parityajya mamekam sharanam brajaham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayashami masucha. After giving up all kinds of religious and occupational duties, if you come to me, the Supreme Personality of God, and take shelter, I shall give you protection from all life's sinful reactions. Do not worry. Obviously, that's the Gita 1866. It's the quotation from the Bhagavad Gita 1866, spoken by Lord Krishna, for an explanation referred to Madhya Lila 8:63. Bhakta Vatsal. And also, devotees are not to be considered according to their bodies either, whether one's a man or a woman or trans or whatever. You don't consider a devotee according to their body. That is hellish intelligence. Bhakta Vatsal Caitanya Samartha Vadanya Hena Krishna Chari Pandita Nahi Vaje Hanja. Lord Krishna is very kind to his devotees. He is always very grateful and magnanimous. And he possesses all abilities, and a learned man does not give up Krishna to worship anyone else, obviously. An intelligent person gives up the company of those who are attached to women and bereft of Krishna consciousness, or women who are attached to men. One should be free. Attachment means one who uses someone else for sense gratification, as a lusty dog or a doggess. One should be free from all kinds of material attachment and should take full shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna is very kind to his devotees. He is always grateful, and he never forgets the service of a devotee. He is also completely opulent and all-powerful. Why then should one take shelter of a demigod and leave Lord Krishna's shelter? If one worships a demigod and leaves Krishna, he must be considered the lowest fool. Of course, sometimes you can worship the demigod to get Krishna's favor, like the gopis. They perform the Katyani Vrat in order to get Krishna as their husband. So in that case, it's all right. But if you're worshiping the demigod for some lusty thing, my dear demigod, please get me a new computer. My dear demigod, please get me a nice wife. My dear demigod, please get me money. My dear demigod, make the stock market go up. This is nonsense. Those whose intelligence is stolen by lust, they take shelter of the devatas, the devas. Ka pandatastvara param sharanam samiyad bhakta priyad ritagira sudhrida kritangyat sarvandadati surdano bhajato vikaman atmanam apyupachaya pachayo nayasya. My dear Lord, you are very affectionate to your devotees. You are also a truthful and grateful friend. Where is that learned man who would give you up and surrender to someone else? You fulfill all the desires of your devotees, so much so that sometimes you even give yourself to them. Still, you neither increase nor decrease by such activity. And actually, that's the last quality last doesn't mean the worst, it means the ultimate quality, penultimate quality of pure devotional service is the only means of attracting Krishna. Krishna gives himself to his devotee. Krishna is controlled by his devotee. It's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:48-26. Vijyajanera yadi Krishna gunadgyan anyatya jivaje tate udava pramana. Whenever an experienced person develops real knowledge of Krishna and his transcendental qualities, he naturally gives up all other engagements and renders service to the Lord. Uddhava gives evidence concerning this. Giving up all other engagements doesn't mean you just hear and chant. It means you do your duty in society. If you're married, you do your duty. You follow Varnashram. The only time when you don't have to follow Varnashram is if you're a devotee who's completely pure and your spiritual master says, yeah, it's all right. But Arjuna was told, follow Varnashram. The essence of Varnashram, not the rituals of Varnashram. What's the essence of Varnashram? What is Varnashram actually? Working and being engaged according to your nature so you can, step by step, gradually advance in devotional service. If you give up Varnashram and you're not an absolutely pure, unadulterated, which is the same thing, devotee of the Lord, you will fall down. So just stay. Stani stita. Like Lord Caitanya said, this is another thing we're going to read about in the future in the Chaitanya Caritamrta. Actually, we read about it in the past. So when Lord Caitanya was visiting South India, there was a Brahmin, Kurma Brahmin I believe was his name, who wanted to come with Lord Caitanya and give up his family and everything. And Lord Caitanya said, no. Stani stita shruti katam tan van manobir. Repeating the words of Lord Brahma, the Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, just stay where you are. Engage in hearing and chanting. And guess what? Bring other people to Krishna consciousness. If someone is a grahasta, they have an ideal situation by which they can cultivate people in Krishna consciousness. They can invite people to their home. Sannyasis are traveling. How can they invite people to their home? Host gatherings. Sannyasi is supposed to be hosted. He's not supposed to host. Yeah, that would be interesting. So, it's an ideal situation. Just stay where you are and use it in Krishna's service. Use your situation. Maximize your exposure to others. Maximize their exposure to your Krishna consciousness. That's the point. Aho bakiham stana kalakutam jigam sayapayayad apyasadvi lebegatim dat shruchitam tatonyam kamba dayalum sharanam prajema. Oh, how wonderful it is! Putana, the sister of Bakasura, wanted to kill Krishna by smearing deadly poison on her breasts and having Krishna take it. Nonetheless, Lord Krishna accepted her as his mother, and thus she attained the destination befitting Krishna's mother. Of whom should I take shelter but Krishna, who is most merciful? This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-23. Of course, the inside story of Putana is quite interesting. Putana was the sister in a previous life of Bali Maharaj. Now, Bali Maharaj wasn't a demon family, but he was a devotee. And Bali Maharaj was a disciple of Shukracharya, that means the demon's spiritual master, who is a family spiritual master, let's just say, putting it in nice words. So Bali Maharaj was performing a sacrifice. And guess what happened? His sister was there also. And in order to impede his sacrifice, in order to get Bali Maharaj to surrender to the Lord, Krishna appeared as Lord Vamana. Very cute dwarf Ramana. Okay, Krishna comes to the sacrifice, and Bali Maharaj, following the Vedic injunctions, thought, I have to honor the Brahmins. Because even the demons, they were actually cultured in that way. So he thought, here's a cute little Brahmin. Let me offer him something. What do you want, my dear little Brahmin? And Vamanadev, Lord Vamanadev, said, I want 3 steps of land. Of course, previous to that, Bali Maharaj's sister was thinking about Vamana. What a cute little kid. Or boy. Not kid. Boy, young man, whatever. I would love to be his mother. Okay, then Lord Vamana, making a long story short, took away everything from Bali Maharaj by taking his 3 steps, one over the earth, one over the whole universe, and the other pushing Bali Maharaj down to the nether worlds, because the 3rd step was on Bali Maharaj's head. So then Lord Vamana took everything away from Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj's sister was really angry. How could you do this to my brother? In the future, I may be his mother, but I will kill him! So she had sort of mixed motives at that particular point. So in the future, she became Putana. And Putana approached Krishna with the idea of killing him. But she also was very attracted to him. So these 2 conflicting emotions. And of course, Krishna purified her of the Bayan emotion and obviously killed her too by sucking the life air out of her breast. And Krishna accepted her as a mother in the spiritual realm. Krishna saw the good quality and he purified her of the bad quality. So that's the story of Putana. And Putana had attempted to kill Krishna by smearing poison on her dress and thinking, if I give it to Krishna, if I give the breast to Krishna to suck, then he will die. Because she was asked to do that by Kamsa, evil Kamsa. Okay? Shananagatera akinchanera ekahi lakshana tadamajje praveshaye atma samarpana. There are 2 kinds of devotees. Those who are fully satiated and free from all material desires, and those who are fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. Seems like they are the same. Their qualities are one and the same, but those who are fully surrendered to Krishna's lotus feet are qualified with another transcendental quality, Atma Samarpana, full surrender without reservation. So let's talk about this. Fully satiated and free from material desires. So that can refer to people in Shantaras. And those who are fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord can refer to those who are in Dasaras or higher. Shantaras means the peaceful ras, where you just like, I'm satisfied, I see Krishna, wow. Or I'm satisfied, I know I'm not this body. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam vashishyati vishvaso gotritre vadanam tata atmanikshepa karapanye sadvida sharanagati. These are the 6 divisions of surrender. The 6 divisions of surrender, and these are taught by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, are the 1, acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, 2, rejection of unfavorable things, 3, the conviction that Krishna will give one protection, 4, the acceptance of Krishna as one guardian or master, 5, full self-surrender and humility. Sometimes it's expressed a little differently. The first 2 are always the same, accepting what's favorable, rejecting what's unfavorable. Then there's the conviction that Krishna will give one protection, then also the conviction that Krishna will maintain one. I guess that's the same thing as the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master. Then there's having no separate interests other than the interest of the Lord, which is the same thing as full self-surrender, and always being meek and humble. This is how Prabhupada wrote it in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. One who is fully surrendered is qualified with the six following characteristics. 1. The devotee has to accept everything that is favorable for the rendering of transcendental loving service to the Lord. Once you remember these, he must reject everything unfavorable to the Lord's service. This is called renunciation. 3. A devotee must be firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. No one else can actually give one protection, and being firmly convinced of this is called faith. This kind of faith is different from the faith of an impersonalist who wants to merge into the Brahman effulgence in order to benefit by the cessation of repeated birth and death. A devotee wants to remain always in the Lord's service. In this way, Krishna is merciful to his devotee and gives him all protection from the dangers found on the path of devotional service. And there's many dangers. And we're not talking about getting tickets for speeding. And I was thinking about that before. Why didn't Krishna protect me from the danger of getting a ticket while I was speeding? But that's not a danger on the path of devotional service. In fact, it may be actually a rude awakening to help me understand that I'm Krishna's servant and not try to enjoy Krishna's energy. 4. The devotee should accept Krishna as supreme maintainer and master. He should not think that he's being protected by a demigod. He should depend only on Krishna, considering him the only protector and provider. The devotee must be firmly convinced that within the three worlds he has no protector or maintainer other than Krishna. So the key in number 4 is maintainer, because 3 is actually protection. So maintainer, and actually if you analyze it a little bit differently, 3 can actually be protecting from impediments in devotional service, and 4 can be protecting in this material world and maintaining the body and maintaining your sanity too. 5. Self-surrender means remembering that one's activities and desires are not independent, to have no separate interest other than the interest of the Lord. The devotee is completely dependent on Krishna, and he acts and thinks as Krishna desires, and the devotee is meek and humble. That doesn't mean he walks around like a little mouse. Sometimes being meek and humble means becoming like a tigre. That's tiger, for those of you who don't know. Like a tiger. Because that's what Krishna wants. It means doing what Krishna wants. Not being simply materially meek and humble. But if Krishna wants you to be like a tiger, you be like a tiger. Like Prabhupada said, when people preach, they should be like a lion on the chase or a tiger in the chase when they're out there. And at home they should be like a lamb. A lion and a lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Sarvasya Chaham, another famous verse from the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sanavishto Matakspritir Gyanamaponam Cha Vedaisha Savaraham Meva Vedyo Vedanta Krid Vedajvid Eva Chaham. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Situated in everyone's heart, Krishna deals differently according to the living entity's position. It's a reciprocal relationship that depends on your surrender, depends on your situation, depends on the service that Krishna wants you to do. The living entity's position is to be under the protection of the illusory energy or under Krishna's protection. You got a choice. When a living entity is fully surrendered, he is under the direct protection of Krishna, and Krishna gives him all intelligence by which he can advance his spiritual realization. The non-devotee, however, being under the protection of the illusory energy, increasingly forgets his relationship with Krishna. Sometimes it is asked how Krishna causes one to forget. Krishna personally causes his devotee to forget material activities, and through the agency of Maya, Krishna causes the non-devotee to forget his devotional service to the Lord. This is called apohana, which means forgetfulness. So why does Krishna do that? Because Krishna yayatamam prapachante tam sataiva pajamyam. Krishna is just reciprocating with what you want. You want to forget him? Okay, Prabhu, or rascal. You can forget him. Krishna gives you intelligence. All right. Here's a nice scientific theory. You want to think that the earth is flat? Think it, buddy. You want to be stupid and think there's no God? In spite of all evidence to the contrary? Here you go. you become a nice atheist, or that's a contradiction, called an oxymoron, and Zamora too. Okay, on that happy note, we're going to end there today. And we ended at text 100. What an auspicious number. Actually, in Indian culture, it's always better to have at least a 1 and not 100. But anyway, tomorrow we'll start with 101. 101. So we'll stop sharing. And we will on YouTube. And so, who has a question? So you can raise your hand, type in the chat window, or unmute yourself. You have a choice. So who would like to say something? No one. I'm impressed. Everyone's understood this perfectly, everything discussed today. Nobody has a question. Rishikesh, whoops.
Hi, Krishna, good day.
Yeah,
I just wanted to know what's the best way to associate with pure devotees and get the best advantage in short time.
ask them. Tadvidi pratipatena pariprashnena sevanam. One should inquire, how can I serve? Prabhupada commented, try that light. Prabhupada commented that the changes the color. Anyway, turn that down a little bit. Prabhupada commented that the only thing he ever asked his spiritual master was, how can I serve you? And so do what they ask. And that's how we associate, by service. We don't associate by just like staring at them. And also hearing from them. Shushu Sho Shradanasha Vasudeva Katai Ruchi Shan Mahatsebya Viprak Punya Tirtana Shevana. By hearing nicely, that is service. So that's how. And as far as our movement, we associate by serving Prabhupada, by serving his mission, helping bring other people to his mission, and assisting in his mission in various ways. Like today we had some GBC meetings. Yesterday I had some GBC meetings. Seems like every day. The internet's getting wild. I mean, before COVID, we would just have meetings, regularly scheduled meetings, like every few months or something like that. But now every day it's meetings. Just pour it on. So, but that's service to Prabhupada. So we are serving Prabhupada somehow or other. And we're very happy. Even though it's poured on 24 hours a day, then we are happy. We are pleased.
Thank you,
Okay.
Krishna.
So I think Abhay Caitanya had a question.
Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Good to see you down
We're-
under.
Jai, Jai. We'd love to see you down under here, Maharaj. So, I wish we can do that. Hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah, I think by April.
Yeah, okay. That's really promising, Maharaj. That's fantastic.
April, the latest May, Australia should be able to open up.
Wow. We're getting very excited to serve you, Maharaj. That'll be great. Excellent.
Well over 2 years. Well over 2 years,
Yes, I know, exactly.
2.5 years since I've been there. So you have a
Very
question?
nice, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Well, just beautiful class, Maharaj. Thank you so much for the class. Just reflecting on how we deal with materialists on a daily basis, and I'm myself, I think I'm engrossed in material life as well. So I'm just trying to understand when we are out working, and there's of course not maybe working as a butcher, but there's so many other occupations which require you to deal with material people or even material concepts. And at the end of the day, yes, we want to do everything for Krishna, but how do you relate those daily activities? How do we make sure that we don't get succumbed to material nature as we are undertaking those
Two things. One is when you interact with people, try to always bring it to the back of your mind or the front of your mind that this person is part and parcel of Krishna and this person needs Krishna. You may not be able to tell them anything, obviously, most cases. If you're dealing with everybody that you deal with as potential devotee, as your brother and sister, in a loving way, and also being aware that they're probably trying to cheat you too in the business world. You have to be
Yeah.
aware about it. I mean, you can't be too naive about things. But really, it's like sometimes you may have a brother or a sister who tries to cheat you. I mean, I've had many devotees whose parents passed away and their relatives cheated them out of their inheritance. I mean, it didn't happen to me. My mother passed away, and my brother, he's not a cheater. I mean, he and I were pretty close, so that's not a problem. But in other cases, I've seen that happen. And so, but still, they're your brother, they're your sister, and you got to deal with them accordingly or see them accordingly. That they've just forgotten their position. That's the first point. And the second point, you just realize that I'm doing this, even though, it's not so tasty, but I'm doing this to satisfy Krishna and Guru, and satisfy Srila Prabhupada. This is my occupational duty. I have to maintain my family. I contribute to the Krishna consciousness movement, helping to build a temple in Western Sydney. So many things like that. If you actually realize and think of the why you're doing what you're doing, oftentimes we connect too much with the what and not enough with the why, if that makes sense. Of course, we should be aware of what we're doing, or else we're going to just run into a wall or crash our car. But why? Let's say you're driving a car. And why am I driving the car? Am I driving just to enjoy the car, or am I driving to get somewhere to serve Krishna? So we concentrate on, or at least have in the back of our mind, why we're doing something, and then also at the same time, while we're interacting with people, realize that there are brothers and sisters. I do that all the time. Like when I'm flying in an airplane, of course I don't work a job, except, probably I have more meetings than anybody here does, my job.
I think you do,
But
Maharaj.
let's say I
And
fly,
24/7 a day.
yeah, and emails coming in like crazy, and so many devotional children. Anyway, so just like if I'm in an airplane and I look at the employees, like the steward, stewardesses, like that, I just think of them as devotees, potential devotees. Actually, I was just making plans the other day to buy a whole bunch of uh, chocolate bars and offer them to Krishna, so that whenever I go anywhere, I can give people like a chocolate bar, a little chocolate bar,
Yeah.
natural, whatever it is, and prasadam distribution. Because people generally they won't relate. If you walk on an airplane and give someone a glubjaman, I think it wouldn't go very well. If you go to the stewardess and say, "Here's a glubjaman for you," she goes, "Yoo-wee. This is not exactly a hand sanitizer." She gets all sticky. So, uh, so, so I'm actually thinking like that. The other day, there was a chocolate bar. Someone gave it to me, and I gave it to one of my disciples, and I saw how grateful they were to get this chocolate bar. And now I'll get in trouble for giving out chocolate. But anyway, I saw how grateful they were. And then I realized that this is how we should relate to people. We should be giving prasadam, giving books, somehow or other trying to get people with Krishna consciousness. Little things like that. People become very grateful and warmed up to Krishna consciousness if you do something like that. So anyway, just think of ways to engage people in Krishna consciousness. Whoops, I
Thank
did
you,
it.
Maharaj. That's a very good example. Thank you for clearing that up.
Okay.
I hope to see you in April, Jai.
Yeah, I hope so too. Just pray to Krishna. So here's another question from Jai Radhika. Mental sins are compensated in Kali. You don't have to suffer from mental sins. Include being angry or mentally with upsetting actions of devotees. Uh, it's not a sin, but don't express it. But also, it pollutes your consciousness. If you get angry, it just pollutes the consciousness. It doesn't help you become happy. So we should have positive thoughts rather than getting rid of negative thoughts. If you put a positive thought about a devotee, every time you think of some devotee in a negative way, if you just think in your mind how wonderful they are, what they're doing, how they've done this for Krishna, even if they're an ocean of faults, at least there's one good quality they may have, they do have. So you concentrate on that one good quality. And someone asked me, do you give chocolate bars for your drivers too? No. That's a devotee. A devotee who should remain nameless to protect his desires for chocolate bars. So, I guess that's it. So we're going to end, and now it's after 6 our time. Then we'll see everybody, same time, same station, tomorrow. I guess that's it. All glories to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada ki